We will make Britain a country that works not for a privileged few, but for every one of us. Strong, 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 that strong and stable leadership.
After the constant nibbling at Boris Johnson like a load of piranha, unelected by the people Prime Minister Fishy Rishi.
They call me Dishy Rishi.
Entitled.
Risky.
Privileged. Wealthy.
Different, because we've never had an Asian Prime Minister before.
Clueless.
Dickhead.
Too weak to take on his party.
The whole thing came as a pretty big surprise.
I think historians might look back at Rishi Sunak and say here was a very intelligent, focused, quite ethically moral guy who came into power rather inexperienced as a Prime Minister, very inexperienced in politics, really, at a time when it was actually objectively impossible to be a successful Prime Minister.
£1,200 is what you're claiming Rishi Sunak's government have left the average family worse off.
7 out of 10 people apparently don't think that Rishi Sunak will even be Prime Minister by the next general election.
Disruptions are expected in the UK today, where up to 500,000 workers are expected to walk off the jobs. Teachers, civil servants, train drivers and college lecturers in parts of the UK are striking over their continued calls for better pay.
100 days of Fishy Rishi and Number 10 are up, and while the globalist shills, political establishment and mainstream media might be happy, the great British public is certainly not. The anti-democratic coup that saw the parliamentary party install Sunak after ignoring their members by deposing both Boris Johnson and Liz Truss in quick succession has left deep and barely concealed wounds.
At the last count, the Deputy Prime Minister was facing 24 separate allegations of bullying. How would he feel if one of his friends or relatives was being forced to work for a bully simply because the man at the top was too weak to do anything about it?
You said in 2020, when asked if you were after the top job, God no, definitely not, seeing what the Prime Minister has to deal with. Yeah. And then a year later, you run for that job at a time when the economy is tanking, the party's cratering in the polls, there was a raging war in Europe, the worst cost of living crisis in a lifetime, the remnants of this terrible pandemic. It's pretty much the worst imaginable hospital pass any incoming Prime Minister could ever wish to receive, which begs the question, what on earth did you want to do this for?
Yeah. Well, thanks for reminding me, first of all, that long list. And look, you're right, there's no point sugarcoating it. It's not an easy situation. And, I do ask myself the same question on occasion. I go to what I said before. For me, it's about duty.
So many people are suffering. So many people are worrying. What is your message to them?
It's have hope. Have hope, because I can make it better, and I will make it better. And that's what I'd say, and that's what I'm working day and night to do. That's why I put myself forward for this, and that's why at the beginning of the year I set out for the country the 5 things I wanted to do for them, which are quite straightforward in one sense.
The problem you have, I've seen the 5 pledges, and we'll discuss those. There's a new poll out today, YouGov, Times Radio, that says pretty much on almost every metric that 3/4 of the public do not think you're delivering on any of the things you're now pledging to fix. 3/4 don't think you're going to be Prime Minister after the next election. These are, pretty heavy stats against you. You haven't got that much time to turn this around.
What we need to do is deliver for the country. At the beginning of this year, I set out 5 priorities: to halve inflation, grow the economy, reduce debt, cut waiting lists, and to stop the boats. The changes to government I've announced today will help us deliver on those promises for the British people, particularly the creation of a brand new, first-of-its-kind department for energy security and net zero, so we can really focus on that issue, bring down people's energy bills, produce more energy here at home, and make sure that energy is clean and renewable as we transition to net zero. I know that that's a priority that the country has. It's a priority of mine. Today's changes will help us deliver it.
This is the blueprint for the government that he wants to run. Familiar faces in the main, cabinet ministers in the main taking up the new jobs, and Greg Hands, the media-savvy face, now the new Conservative Party chairman.
I have a 3-word message for you today, and it is God bless America. God bless America for what you have done and are doing to save Ukraine from destruction. The Conservative Party can certainly win the next election. And
can we?
Yes,
Labour are 29 points ahead in the polls. Can we win the next election?
We've got about, let me get this right, we've got
we're in a worse position than 97 today.
We've got almost 2 years to go.
The craven and hysterical Liz Truss haters who want to degrade a highly intelligent and successful woman as insane because they disagree with her policy prescription for how to save our economy. But Liz Truss was right, and she is right. Did she deliver a growth agenda perfectly? No, and I said that at the time. But is it a categorical fact that the left-wing economic establishment and political blob conspired with Tory party wets and the MSM to frustrate her brave and bold agenda, then force her out in record time? Absolutely. And I'm delighted she's broken her public silence to say just that. Truss was deposed by dark forces. She knows it. And over the coming months, she's not going to be afraid to reveal far more. Those dark forces are globalist and anti-democratic, allowing civil servants to stop an elected government from pursuing their agenda while tying the UK to a world order that just isn't working. Truss was expected to comply with the creep towards a hard left economic agenda. When she refused, she had to go, they decided. And now, just as I predicted at the time, by the way, Truss believes we are stuck in a high-tax doom loop where no government will ever dare to cut the top tax rate. So degrade Truss all you want. And by the way, I've heard copious amounts of abuse directed at her from terrified journalists, MPs and civil servants who should know better these past 24 hours. But she is going to remain a constant reminder to high-tax Hunt and the current Conservative administration that there's nothing conservative about their current policy platform, and that must change.